welcome back to my channel. I am Katia with Lunar Sun Creations, and today we are going to create this. So kind of like a little dream catcher out of wire. So you could either make some really nice earrings out of it. I'm gonna put it against something white so you can see it better. Let me just grab a sheet of white here. So either you can make earrings out of it. My plan is to use this as either a swing tab or just some kind of embellishment for my next mini album project, which is coming soon because the new paper collection that I'm doing has a lot of dream catchers and stuff of and feathers and things of that nature. So that is what we're going to be making today. So materials that you will need are a couple sets of pliers. You'll need some snips. You will need some needle nose pliers, and then some round nose would be helpful. Not absolutely necessary, but very helpful. You will need some jump rings. I've got two different sizes here. There's one jump ring that you'll need for in the center. These are 18 gauge and they're about a 7mm diameter, something like that. So about that big. And then I've also got some much smaller ones. Those are what I'm going to be using to attach the chain for the dangly bits at the bottom. And you will need a tiny bit of chain of some sort. I'm just using a few, I won't use very much. I think for the other part I used a total of maybe like that long. So you just need a tiny bit of chain. You will need some 26 gauge wire for wrapping. So it's a really, really thin wire. You could use 24 gauge as well. And then you will need, I'm using these pre-made hoops, so it's like a pre-form for jewelry. You can get them like this, already formed into little hoops from Michael's or Joann's, Hobby Lobby, whatever. A lot of places like that just sell findings like that. If you cannot find them or don't have something like this, you can just use an 18 gauge wire and just wrap it around some kind of bottle or something of that nature until you get the shape that you want. Form it like that on one end. Okay, so form a little loop kind of like that, and then just wind the other part of the other tail of the wire around it, something like this, and then cut off the very end, and then pull it off your whatever you've used to form the hoop in the first place. So that will form roughly the same kind of deal. You probably want to attempt, I just did it really quickly, but you could, make it perfectly round. Mine is not perfectly round, but it would, be all right. But this is copper. I don't have any 18 gauge silver at the moment, and I want my dream catcher to be a silver color, so I am going to use that. And then lastly, you will need some beads. The last one I did was blue. I'm gonna do this one in various shades of purple. I've got some fluorite, and I'm not sure if this is chalcedony or if it was just glass. And I can't remember what these are. Anyway, that's what I'm using for this one. Are you gonna focus and show off the pretty birds? I guess that's as close as you're gonna get. Okay. So to get started, I am going to cut a length of my 26 gauge wire. I kind of just go like an arm's length, which on average is usually about 50 inches. So that I never measure it exactly. I usually just kind of like put it all the way against my arm up to my shoulder and cut. You want a fairly good length of wire. Okay, so there's the beginning and there's the end. So I don't know if that gives you a good chat. It's about 50 inches. All right, so we're going to take the end of it, and we're first just going to put it through that little hole. The camera does not want to focus today. Okay, we're just going to take this little tail and wrap it a few times around the hoop just to secure the wire in place, and then we're going to snip off the very end of that tail. Okay, just make sure there's no pokey bit. We're just going to push that down. Okay, so now we can start. So my wire, I'm going to see if maybe going against a white background might help. We are going to take our wire and form a little loop. Form a little loop like that, and then we're going to put it over top of our form, like our circular form, and then bring the end of it from the back side through the hole that we've just kind of created, and then pull the wire through. So make sure not to pull it too tight. You want there to be a loop there still. See that right there? Okay, and now we're just going to do that again. So we're going to put it over top of your round base, I guess you call it, and then through the hole right here. Okay? And then pull it very carefully, making sure not to get your wire all tangled, and kind of use your thumb and your fingers to hold the loop in place as you pull the wire so that it doesn't close completely. Okay, so now you've got two about the same size. And we're just going to keep going like that all the way around. Try your best not to let it get tangled. And if it does, then gently untangle it. Because if it gets too tangled, it can break on you. Okay, so we've got 4 there now. So just forming a little loop. So that's what our little loop's going to look like. And then bringing the wire around and then through the back side of that little loop. So here's the wire coming through the back side of that little loop. And if you do, this loop is a little bit smaller than I'd like it to be, so if you do get a loop that's a little bit too small, you can just kind of put your pliers in there and make it a little bit bigger. Now I've made it a little bit too big. So just keep going, trying to make them uniform until you're all the way around the entire circle. Okay, and then one last one to complete this first rotation. So over the top, and then bring the wire through that hole. There it is right there. Okay, so now that we've got one full rotation of the loops, now we're going to do the same thing, but instead of going around the edge, we're going to bring the wire through the hole that's been created by the first loop here, and then through the center. Okay, so it creates that, and then to the next loop, push it through, and then bring it in through the center of the circle. Okay, and we're going to keep doing that until we've created another whole row. Okay, so through the loop and pull it through the center. So we're going to go all the way around. Oops. I find the second row quite a bit easier than the first row because you've already got your loops kind of established, so it's a little bit easier. But you want to try and make sure that these ones are as uniform as the first row was. And also your wire is getting a little bit shorter, so it's not as much that can get tangled, so that also makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to keep doing this until we've gone around a third time. So the third rotation, you're going to do the same thing as the second rotation, except you're going through the second layer of loops instead of the first layer. So I will come back to you as soon as I'm done round 3. Actually, I'll do a couple first, and then the fourth round will be a little bit different. Okay, so once you've done 3 rotations of that weave, like 3 times all the way around, then we're going to take a jump ring, and we're going to bring the wire through the jump ring. And then through the space in between the jump ring and the weave. And then from the front, we're gonna go through that first loop. Okay, of the like the innermost circle that we've done now. Okay, and then through the center of the what do you call it? The jump ring. And through the space beside it. And then from the front through, I'm gonna skip one each time because my weave got pretty tight. Okay, so it's through. My wire is right here. And then I'm going through the center of the jump ring and up through the space in between the weave and the jump ring. And then through the next weave. And doing the same kind of pattern like that we've been doing all along, but except for this one is on the jump ring. And it's gonna they're probably gonna be close to running out of wire, so it might get a little bit tricky. That's why I'm skipping a couple of the I'm not going through every single weave. Hi, buddy. If you do run out of wire at this point, you can do a couple wraps around the center jump ring and then add a new piece of wire also wrapping around the center jump ring a couple times and then just cutting the tails. Okay, but if you have enough wire to keep going, then keep going. I'm gonna go for as long as I can here. Hi, buddy. Yes, you're being incredibly helpful. Okay, so buddy, you're not helping. So we're almost at the end here. So we're through the jump ring, up through that space in between the jump ring and the weave. Hi. Okay, and then here's my wire here. So it's buddy. So it's going to go. You're so not helpful right now. So here's my wire right here, and it is going to go right here. There we go. Okay, so here's my wire right here. So I'm going to wrap it around the center jump ring a couple times, and then I'm going to put a bead on. Okay, So I'm just gonna string a bead here. So it's gonna fit right in that hole where the jump ring is. And then I'm just gonna anchor the bead by weaving that wire a few times around the opposite side of that jump ring. So here it is on the back side, and then I'm just gonna weave it around the jump ring a couple times. And once you've got the bead secure, you can just cut that wire. Okay, so that's the main part of your dream catcher now. So now we're going to add some little bits to the bottom to kind of make it look like feathers. So to do that, I'm going to take some little pieces of the 20 gauge, about, how many inches is this? This is about 3 inches or so, and feed it through the hole in my bead. And then bring it to a point like that. And then on the short part, so I've got a long part and a short part. On the short part, I'm just going to form a little loop. Cut a tiny piece of chain, maybe like four links maybe. And I'm going to put one end of that chain over that piece of wire that I've just looped over. There we go. Okay, so here's my chain. Okay, and now I'm going to take the larger piece of wire and I'm going to wrap it around. Like this. So I'm coiling it around, and then I'm just going to trim that tail and pinch everything closed. Okay, so once you have a length of chain and it wired onto the chain, gosh, I wish I could show you better. Hope you can see it. Then we are going to take a jump ring and put it through the last link of the chain, and then we are going to put it through the bottom of our dream catcher at the center. And I'm putting it right through the loop, so I'm just opening up these loops just a little bit because I just don't want it sliding around. So I'm going to put it right into our wire loop here. So there is your first dangle. Now we're going to do that on either side with the little fluorite. So again, I'm just taking a like 3-inch length, probably don't even need 3 inches, putting it through my bead. And then forming a little loop on the short end of the bead. Putting a couple, and putting the chain through that. Okay, so once I've got a few lengths of chain, I will take the longer part of the wire and just wrap it around. And then cut it off when it gets to the top. Okay, and then with jump rings, we're gonna add those two to our dream catcher. And then through the next loop in our dream catcher. One of our florets. Now let's put the other one on the other side. Okay, and then we're just gonna add 2 more beads. So for the last 2, I'm just going to use a head pin. It's a little pin that just has a ball at the end there. So I'm going to put it through the hole in my bead and then fold it kind of like at an L, like a 90-degree angle. And then make a loop with your round nose pliers, and then just wrap that tail around a couple times and then trim it off. And make sure you don't have anything poking out. Okay, so now you've got a bead with a little loop on the end. And we're going to add that onto our dream catcher with a couple more jump rings. Realize I'm not like making a bunch of jokes and everything this time around, because honestly I'm very frustrated that my camera will not focus and that everything is quite dark. It's time for a new camera, I think, because this one, ow, 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 don't poke yourself. This one is not happy anymore. So. Okay. So that is our little dream catcher. You can either make another one exactly alike for earrings, or you can use this as a swing tab or something for in a mini album. But I think it turned out really pretty. I really hope that you saw at least enough of that to be able to figure it out and know what went on. Before I do another jewelry tutorial, I will try to save to invest in a new camera. So I hope you're able to see at least some of that. And yeah, maybe I'll stick to other tutorials until I know that you can see close up. All right, I hope you're having an amazing day, and thank you for tuning in. And I will see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye.